Morning. We are beginning today with the Devi Bhagavata Purana, Book 9, Chapter 47. Narayana said, O Narada, I have now narrated the anecdote of Shashti, as stated in the Vedas. Now hear the anecdote of Mangala Chandi, approved of by the Vedas and respected by the literary persons. The Chandi that is very skilled in all auspicious works, the word for auspicious being Mangala, and who is the most auspicious of all good things, is Mangala Chandika, the auspicious Chandika. Or another derivation of her name, the Chandi who is an object of worship of Mangala, Mangala Deva, the Deva of the planet Mars. The son of Bhumi Devi, the earth goddess, and an object of worship of Mangala of the family of Manu, who was the ruler of the whole world, composed of the 7 continents and the bestower of all desires, is Mangala Chandi. Or it may be another derivation of her name that the Mula Prakriti, the governess of the universe, the ever-gracious Durga, assumed the form of Mangala Chandi and has become the Ishta Devata of women. When there was the fight with Tripurasura, 3 great demons who fought against Shiva, we've read about this. This Mangala Chandi, higher than the highest, was first worshipped by Mahadeva, stimulated by Vishnu, at a critical moment. O Brahman, while the fighting was going on, a Daitya threw out of anger a chariot on Mahadeva. And as the chariot was about to fall on him, Brahma and Vishnu gave a good advice when Mahadeva began to praise Durga Devi at once. Durga Devi at that time, assuming the form of Mangala Chandi, appeared and said, No fear, no fear. Bhagavan Vishnu will be thy carrier buffalo. I will be also thy Shakti in the action, and Hari full of Maya will also help thee. Thou had better slay the enemy that dispossessed the Devas. O child, thus saying, the Devi Mangala Chandi disappeared, and she became the Shakti of Mahadeva. Then, with the help of the weapon given by Vishnu, Umapati killed the Asura. When the Daityas fell, the Devas and Rishis began to chant hymns to Mahadeva with devotion, with their heads bent low. From the sky a shower of flowers fell on Mahadeva's head. Brahma and Vishnu became glad and gave their best wishes to him. Then, ordered by Brahma and Vishnu, Shankara bathed joyously. Then he began to worship with devotion the Devi Mangala Chandi with Padya, Arghya, Achamaniya, and various clothings, flowers, sandal paste, various goats, sheep, buffaloes, bisons, birds, garments, ornaments, garlands, payasa, which is a rice pudding of rice, ghee, milk, and sugar, pishtaka, honey, wine, and various fruits were offered in the worship. Dancing, music with instruments, and the chanting of her name and other festivals commenced. Reciting the Dhyana Shloka, as in Madhyandina, Mahadeva offered everything, pronouncing the following mantra. Om Hrim Srim Klim Sarvapujye Devi Mangala Chandike Hum Phat Swaha is the 21-lettered mantra of Mangala Chandi. During worship, the Kalpavraksha, the tree yielding all desires, must be worshipped. In other words, that this worship should be addressed to a tree, performed at a tree, outdoors. O Narada, by repeating this mantra 10 lakhs of times, the mantra siddhi comes. Now I will say about the dhyanam of Mangala Chandi as stated in the Vedas and as approved by all. Listen. O Devi Mangala Chandike, thou art 16 years old, thou ever youthful, thy lips are like bimba fruits, Thou art of good teeth and pure. Thy face looks like the autumnal lotus. Thy color is like white champakas. Thy eyes resemble blue lilies, blue eyes. Thou art the preserver of the world, and thou bestowest all sorts of prosperity. Thou art the light in this dark ocean of the world. So I meditate on thee. This is the dhyanam, the instructions on when you meditate on her and visualize her form to invoke her. Now hear the stotra which Mahadeva recited before her. Mahadeva said, protect me, O Mother, O Devi Mangala Chandike. Thou the destroyer of difficulties, thou givest joy and good. Thou art clever in giving delight and fortune. Thou the bestower of all bliss and prosperity, thou the auspicious, or the Mangala, thou art Mangala Chandika. Thou art Mangala, worthy of all good. Thou art the auspicious of all auspiciousness. Thou bestowest good to the good persons. Thou art worthy to be worshipped on Mangalavara, on Tuesday. Thou art the deity desired by all. The Raja Mangala, born of Manu's family, always worships thee. Thou, the presiding Devi of Mangala, art the repository of all the good in this world, and thou art the bestower of the auspicious moksha. Thou art the best of all, the repository of all good. Thou makest one cross all the karmas. The people worship thee on every Tuesday. Thou bestowest abundance of bliss to all. Thus praising Mangala Chandika with this stotra and worshipping her on every Tuesday thereafter, Shambhu departed. The Devi Sarva Mangala was first worshipped by Mahadeva. Next, she was worshipped by Mangalagraha Deva, the god of the planet Mars. Then by the Raja Mangala of Manu's dynasty. And during his rule, it became popular that she is worshipped on every Tuesday by the ladies of every household. Fifthly, after her worship became first popular among women, then she came to be worshipped by all men desirous of their welfare. So in every universe, Mangala Chandika, first worshipped by Mahadeva, came to be worshipped by all. Next, she came to be worshipped everywhere, by the Devas, Munis, Manavas, Manus, but by humans first, before Devas. O Muni, he who hears with undivided attention this stotra of the Devi Mangala Chandika finds no evils anywhere, rather all good comes to him. Day after day, he gets sons and grandsons, and so his prosperity gets increased and increased. Narayana said, O Narada, thus I narrated to you the stories of Shashti and Mangala Chandika according to the Vedas. Now hear the story of Manasa that I heard from the mouth of Dharmadeva. Manasa is the mind-born daughter of Maharshi Kashyapa. Hence, she is named Manasa. Manasa meaning literally she of the mind. Or it may be taken that she who plays with the mind is Manasa. Or it may be that she who meditates on God with her mind and gets rapture in her own meditation upon God is named Manasa. She finds pleasure in her own self. She is a great devotee of Vishnu, a Siddha Yogini. An important thing to know about Manasa as we read about her. It'll bring this up, but she is a Nagini, a serpent goddess. Indeed, she is the great queen of the Nagas. For three yugas, she worshipped Sri Krishna, and then she became a Siddha Yogini. Sri Krishna, the Lord of the Gopis, seeing the body of Manasa lean and thin due to austerities, worn out, like the Muni Jaratkaru, called her by the name of Jaratkaru. Hence her name has come also to be Jaratkaru, is one of her names. Krishna, the ocean of mercy, gave her out of kindness the offer of a boon of her desire. She worshipped him, and Sri Krishna also worshipped her. Devi Manasa is known in the heavens, in the abode of the Nagas, on earth, in Brahmaloka, in all the worlds, as of a very fair color, beautiful and charming. She is named Jagat Gauri, as she is of a very uh, fair or golden color in the world. She is also called Shaivi because she is the disciple of Shiva. She is named Vaishnavi as she is greatly devoted to Vishnu. She saved the Nagas in the snake sacrifice performed by Parikshit. Now, this is technically an error. It was performed not by Parikshit, but by Parikshit's son, Janamejaya. Um, I suspect it was a translator's error and that it would make sense to refer to the snake sacrifice of Parikshit, but this was not because it was performed by Parikshit, but because it was performed in revenge for Parikshit. She is called Nageshwari, the Empress of the Nagas, and Naga Bhagini, and she is capable to destroy the effects of poison. She is called Vishahari. She got the Siddha Yoga from Mahadeva, hence she is named Siddha Yogini. She got from Mahadeva the great knowledge, the Mahajnanam, so she is called Jnanayuta. And as she learned from him the Mrata Sanjeevani mantra to resurrect the dead, she is known by the name of Mrata Sanjeevani, or resurrector. As she, the great ascetic, is the mother of the Mahamuni Astika, the great sage, her son, she is known in the world as Astika Muta, or Astika Mata, as she is the dear wife of the great high-souled yogi Muni Jaratkaru, worshipped by all. So her husband is the sage. So she married a human man, Jaratkaru. Somewhat confusingly, she has the same name as her husband. They are both called Jaratkaru because Krishna named her after him before she married him. So as she is the wife of Jaratkaru, she is called as, in addition to called by her husband's own name, Jaratkaru, she is also called Jaratkaru Priya, or the lover of Jaratkaru. Jagatkaru, Jagat Manasa, Siddhayogini, Vaishnavi, Naga Bhagini, Shaivi, Nageshwari, Jaratkaru Priya, Ashtika Mata, Vishahari, and Mahajnanayutta. These are the 12 names of Manasa, worshipped everywhere in the universe. He who recites these 12 names while worshipping Manasa Devi, he or any of his family has no fear of snakes. If there be any fear of snakes in one's bed, if the house be infested with snakes, or if one goes to a place difficult or dangerous due to fear of snakes, or if one's body be encircled with snakes, all the fears are dispelled if one reads this stotra of Manasa. There is no doubt in this. The snakes run away out of fear from the sight of him who daily recites the Manasa stotra. 10 lakhs of times repeating the Manasa mantra gives a man success in the stotra, or the siddhi of the stotra. And then such a person can easily drink poison. The snakes become his ornaments. They carry him even on their backs. He who is a great siddha can sit on a seat of snakes and can sleep on a bed of snakes. And in the end, he sports day and night with Vishnu. Here ends the 47th chapter of the 9th book, on the beginning of Manasa's story and the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Her worship is also, I'll just add as an aside, very important before a lot of Naga worship. I myself, in fall of 2022, performed a Naga Yatra or a Naga pilgrimage in Garhwal, a region of the Himalayas, which is Manasa's terrain. Um, Manasa is the Kula Devi or the clan goddess of the Garhwali people there. So she's the local Naga queen. And so I did this Manasa, actually the Mangala Chandi Stotra too, that we just had, the Manasa and Mangala Chandi worship for their blessings before the going to the Naga Pittas and worshiping the Nagas of her domain. So that's another function of hers. Chapter 48. Narayana said, O Narada, I will now speak of the dhyanam and the method of worship of Sri Devi Manasa as stated in the Sama Veda here. So this is the dhyana shloka. It's a different one than the one that we were just given from Mahadeva. This one goes, I meditate on the Devi Manasa, whose color is fair like that of the white champaka flower, whose body is decked all over with jewel ornaments, whose clothing is purified by fire, whose sacred thread is the Nagas, who is full of wisdom, who is the foremost of great jnanins, or great knowers, who is the presiding deity of the Siddhas, who is herself a Siddha, and who bestows Siddhis to all. O Muni, thus meditating on her, invoking her through meditation with that stotra, or that shloka rather, one should present to her flowers, scents, ornaments, offerings of food, and various other articles, pronouncing the principal Bija mantra. O Narada, the 12-lettered Siddha mantra to be mentioned yields to the bhaktas their desires like the kalpavraksha tree. Now, the Mula mantra, as stated in the Vedas, for Manasa, is Om Hrim Srim Klim Aim Manasa Devyai Swaha. Repetition of this 5 lakhs of times yields success to the one who repeats it. He who attains success in this mantra gets unbounded name and fame in this world. Poison becomes nectar to him, and he himself becomes famous like Dhanvantari as a healer of poisons. O Narada, if anybody bathes on any Sankranti day, Sankranti is when the sun passes from one sign to another, and goes to a private room in a hidden place, invokes the Devi Manasa Ishana and worships her with devotion, or makes sacrifices of animals to Manasa Devi on the 5th day of the fortnight, he becomes certainly wealthy, endowed with sons and name and fame. Thus I have described to you the method of worship of Manasa Devi. Now hear the story of the Devi, as I heard it from Dharmadeva. In olden days, men became greatly terrified on earth due to snakes, and took refuge of Kashyapa, supreme amongst the Munis. The Maharshi Kashyapa too became very afraid of snakes. He then with Brahma, this is somewhat ironic in that snakes are his offspring. Evidently they got out of hand through his wives. Kadru, more than one of his wives. Kadru being the main one, the mother of snakes. Maharshi Kashyapa, then together with Brahma and by Brahma's command, Brahma being his father, composed a mantra following the principal method of the Vedas. While composing this mantra, He intensely thought of the Devi, the presiding deity of that mantra, through the power of his tapasya. And through his mental power, the Devi Manasa appeared. In other words, he brought her into existence. He created her together with her mantra. And she was named Manasa as she was produced from the sheer influence of mind. On being born, the girl went to the abode of Shankara in Kailasa and began to worship him and chant hymns to him with devotion. For 1,000 divine years, or 360,000 earth years, the daughter of Kashyapa served Mahadeva. Then he became pleased and gave her the great knowledge, made her recite the Samaveda, or taught her to recite the Samaveda, and bestowed to her the 8-lettered Krishna mantra, which is like the Kalpavriksha. This mantra, which he taught her, was Srim Hrim Klim Krishnaya Namaha. She also got from Mahadeva the Kavacha, or armor, auspicious to the three worlds, the method of worship, and all the rules of Purascharana, the repetition of the name of the deity attended with offerings made into a fire, oblations, etc. And then she went, by Mahadeva's command, to Pushkara to perform very hard austerities there. In Pushkara, she worshipped Krishna for the following 3 yugas. Sri Krishna then appeared before her, chanting this mantra and performing fire ceremonies and oblations to him, etc., for 3 yugas in Pushkara. On seeing Krishna, immediately the girl, worn out by her austerities, worshipped him, and she was also worshipped by Sri Krishna. Krishna granted her the boon, and the boon that she asked for was to be worshipped throughout the world. Manasa Devi always craved worship for herself. And so Krishna granted her this boon and departed. O Narada, she was thus first worshipped by the Supreme Spirit, the God Krishna himself. Secondly, she was worshipped by her own guru, Shankara. Thirdly, she was worshipped by her own father, Maharishi Kashyapa, and the Devas. Then she was worshipped by the Munis, Manus, Nagas, and humans, and she became widely renowned in the 3 worlds. Kashyapa gave her over to the hands of Jaratkaru Muni in marriage. At the request of the Brahman Kashyapa, the Muni Jaratkaru married her. After their marriage, one day, being tired with his long work of tapasya, Jaratkaru laid his head upon the hip and loins of his wife and fell fast asleep. Gradually, evening came in. The sun set. Then Manasa thought, if my husband fails to perform the sandhya, the daily duty of the Brahmanas, he would be involved in the sin of Brahmahatya. It is definitely stated in the Shastras that if any Brahmana does not perform his sandhya in the morning and in the evening, he becomes wholly impure, and the sins Brahmahatya and others come down on his head. Thinking thus these thoughts in her mind, as commanded by the Vedas, at last she awakened her husband, who then got up from his sleep. The Muni Jaratkaru said, at this time, very angry. This is a classic example of one in the middle process of tapasya, it can make one very prone to anger. And this is a reason why tapasya is usually performed in solitude, away from other people. At its fulfillment, it tempers the response of anger. But in the mid-range of tapasya, of a course of tapasya, it often tends to build up a very intense an intense fire which can emerge as anger if disturbed. And that happened on this occasion when he was woken up by her from his nap and said, I was sleeping happily. Why have you thus interrupted my sleep? All their vows turn out useless who injures her husband. Her tapas, fastings, gifts, and other meritorious works all come to vain who do things unpleasant to her husband. If she worships her husband, she is said to have worshipped Sri Krishna. For the sake of fulfilling the vows of chaste women, Hari himself becomes their husbands. All sorts of charities, gifts, all sacrifices, fastings, practicing all the virtues, keeping to truth, worshipping all the devas, nothing can turn out equal to even 1/16th part of serving one's husband. She ultimately goes with her husband to the region of Vaikunta, who serves her husband in this holy land of Bharata. She comes certainly of a bad family who does unpleasant acts to her husband or who uses unpleasant words to her husband. She goes to the Kumbhipaka Naraka as long as the sun and moon last, and then becomes born as a Chandali without a husband and sons. Speaking thus, in rage, Jaratkaru, the best of the Munis, became angry and his lips began to tremble. Seeing this, the best Manasa, shivering with fear, addressed her husband, who was certainly completely wrong in speaking falsely to her. I have broken your sleep and awakened you, fearing you might miss your time of Sandhya. I have committed an offense. Punish me as you think. I know that a man goes to the Kala Sutra Naraka as long as the sun and moon last in this world, who throws an obstacle when any man eats, sleeps, or enjoys sex. O Narada, thus saying, the Devi Manasa fell down at the feet of her husband and cried. On the other hand, knowing the Muni angry and ready to curse her, disturbed with the fire of his tapas, Surya and Sandhya Devi came there, and Surya humbly spoke to Jaratkaru, O Bhagavan, seeing me going to set, and fearing that you may miss dharma, your wife has awakened you. O Brahman, now I am also under your refuge. Forgive me. O Bhagavan, you should not curse me. The more so, a Brahmana's heart is as tender as fresh butter. The anger of a Brahman lasts only half a kshana, or half the blink of an eye. When a Brahmana becomes angry, he can burn all this world and make a new creation. So who can possess an influence like a Brahmana? A Brahman is a part of Brahma. He is shining day and night with the Brahma Tejas. A Brahmana meditates always on the eternal light of Brahman. O Narada, hearing the words of Surya, the Brahman became satisfied and blessed him. Surya went to his own place, thus blessed duly. To keep his promise, the Brahman Jaratkaru quitted Manasa. She became very sorry and began to cry aloud with pain and anguish. Being very much distressed then by danger, she remembered her Ishtadeva, Mahadeva, Brahma, Hari, and her father Maharshi Kashyapa. On the very instant when Manasa remembered Sri Krishna, the Lord of the Gopis, Mahadeva, Brahma, and Maharshi Kashyapa, all four of them appeared there before her. Then seeing her own desired deity Sri Krishna, superior to Prakriti, beyond the gunas, Jaratkaru began to praise him and bowed down to him repeatedly. So this refers to Jaratkaru in the sense of Manasa, confusing that she has the same name as her husband. Bowing down to Mahadeva, Brahma, and Kashyapa, she inquired why they had come. No, my mistake. This was referring to her husband, Jaratkaru. He inquired why they had come. Brahma then instantly bowed down at the lotus feet of Hrishikesha, that's Krishna, and spoke in befitting words at that time. If the Brahman Jaratkaru leaves and abandons his legal wife devoted to her own dharma, in other words, that she had done nothing wrong, he should first of all have a son born of her to fulfill his dharma. O Muni, a man can leave his wife after he has impregnated her and gotten a son. But if without having a son he leaves his wife, then all his merits are lost as all water leaks out of a sieve or a strainer. O Narada, hearing thus the words of Brahma, the Muni Jaratkaru by his yogic power recited a mantra, and touching the navel of Manasa spoke to her, O Manasa, A son will be born in your womb, self-controlled, dharmic, and the best of the Brahmanas. That son will be a fiery, energetic, renowned, well-qualified, foremost of the knowers of the Vedas, a great jnanin and the best of the yogis. That son is a true son indeed, who uplifts his family, who is dharmic and devoted to Hari. At his birth, all the ancestors dance with great joy. And the wife is a true wife, he says, who is devoted to her husband, good-natured and sweet-speaking, and she is dharmic, the mother of sons, the woman of the family, and the preserver of the family. He is the true friend, indeed, the giver of one's desired fruits, who imparts devotion to Hari. That father is a true father, who shows the way to devotion to Hari, and she is the true mother, through whom this entering into wombs ceases forever. That sister is the true kind sister, from whom the fear of death vanishes. That guru is the true guru who gives the Vishnu mantra and the true devotion to Vishnu. That guru is the real bestower of knowledge, who gives jnanam, by which Sri Krishna is meditated, in whom this whole universe, moving and non-moving, from the Brahma down to a blade of grass, is appearing and disappearing. There is no doubt in this. What knowledge can be superior to that of Sri Krishna? The knowledge derived from the Vedas or from the Yajnas or from any other source is not superior to the service to Sri Krishna. The devotion and knowledge of Sri Hari is the essence of all knowledge. All else is vain and mockery. It is through this real knowledge that this bondage from this world is severed. But the Guru who does not impart this devotion and knowledge of Sri Hari is not the real Guru. Rather, he is an enemy that leads one to bondage. Verily, he kills his disciple when he does not free him. He can never be called a Guru, father, or friend who does not free his disciple from the pains in the various wombs and from the pains of death. Verily, he can never be called a friend who does not show the way to the undecaying Sri Krishna, the source of the highest bliss. So, O chaste one, you had better worship that undecaying Parabrahma Sri Krishna, who is beyond the gunas. O beloved, I have left you out of a pretense. Please forgive me for this. Chaste women are always forgiving. Never do they become angry because they are born of sattva gunas. Now I go to Pushkara for tapasya. You go wherever you like. Those who have no desire have their minds always attached to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. O Narada, hearing the words of Jaratkaru, the Devi Manasa became very distressed and bewildered with great sorrow. Tears began to flow from her eyes. She then humbly spoke to her dearest husband. O Lord, I have not committed any such offense, as you leave me altogether when I have thus woken you from sleep. However, kindly show thyself to me when I will recollect you. The bereavement of one's friend is painful. More than that is the bereavement of a son. Again, one's husband is dearer than 100 sons, so the bereavement of one's husband is the heaviest of all. To women, the husband is the most beloved of all earthly things, hence he is called Priya, or dear one. As the heart of one who has only one son is attached to that son, as the heart of a Vaishnava is attached to Sri Hari, as the mind of a one-eyed man is devoted to his one eye. Now that is a meaningful reference because it has not been mentioned here. I don't know if it's going to be mentioned here, but Manasa Devi herself lost an eye. She herself has only one, is blind in one eye. As the mind of the thirsty is attached to water, as the mind of the hungry is attached to food, as the mind of the passionate is attached to lust, as the mind of a thief is attached to the properties of others, as the mind of a lewd man is attached to his prostitute, as the mind of the learned is attached to the Shastras, as the mind of a trader is attached to his trade, so the minds of chaste women are attached to their husbands. Thus saying, Manasa fell down at the feet of her husband. Jaratkaru, the ocean of mercy, then took her for a moment on his lap and drenched her body with tears from his eyes. The Devi Manasa, too, distressed at the bereavement of her husband, also drenched the lap of the Muni with tears from her eyes. Some time thereafter, the true knowledge arose in them both, and they both became free from fear. Jaratkaru then enlightened his wife and asked her to meditate on the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Spirit, repeatedly. Thus saying, he went away for his tapasya. She, of course, hardly needed to be told this, having done that very greatly before she ever met him. Manasa, distressed with sorrow, went to her Ishtadeva Mahadeva on Kailasha, returned to Kailasha. The auspicious Shiva and Parvati both consoled her with knowledge and advice. Some days later, on an auspicious day and an auspicious moment, she gave birth to a son, born as an Ansha of Narayana. He was to become the guru of yogis and jnanins. When the child was in his mother's womb, he heard the highest knowledge from the mouth of Mahadeva. Therefore, he was born already a Yogindra, a lord of yogis, and already fit to be the guru of jnanins. On his birth, Bhagavan Shankara, so he was born at Kailasha. Upon his birth, Bhagavan Shankara himself performed his natal ceremonies and various other auspicious ceremonies. The Brahmanas chanted the Vedas for the welfare of the child. Various wealth and jewels and kiritas and invaluable gems were distributed by Shankara to the Brahmanas, and Parvati gave 1,00,000 cows and various jewels to others. After some days, Mahadeva taught the child the 4 Vedas with their 6 angas, and gave him at last initiation in the Mrityunjaya mantra. As in Manasa's mind, there reigned the devotion to her husband, the devotion to her Ishta Devata and Guru. The child's name was given as Astika. Astika then received the Maha Mantra from Shankara, and by his command went to Pushkara to worship Vishnu, Supreme Spirit. There he practiced tapasya for 3,00,000 divine years, and then he returned to Kailasa to bow down to the Mahayogi, the Lord Shankara. Then, bowing down to Shankara, Astika remained in Kailasha for some time. Then, Manasa and her son Astika together went to the hermitage of Kashyapa, his father, or rather her father, Manasa's father. Seeing Manasa with her son, the gladness of Maharshi Kashyapa knew no bounds. He fed innumerable brahmanas for the welfare of the child and distributed lakhs and lakhs of jewels. The joy of Aditi and Diti, the wives of Kashyapa, knew no bounds. Manasa remained there for a long, long time, together with her son. O child, hear now a further story related to this. One day, due to a bad karma, a brahmana cursed the Raja Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu. A rishi's son named Sringi, sipping the water of the river Kaushiki, cursed thus: when a week expires, the Naga Takshaka will bite you, and you will be burnt to death with the poison of that Naga Takshaka. Hearing this, the Raja Parikshit, to preserve his life, went to a place solitary where wind even can have no access, and dwelt there. When the week was over, Dhanvantari saw, while he was going on the road, the Naga Takshaka, who was on his way to bite the king. A conversation and a great friendship arose between Takshaka and Dhanvantari on the road. Takshaka voluntarily gifted Dhanvantari a gem, a Nagamani. The gems of Nagas are greatly prized. They have certain occult powers. And Dhanvantari, receiving the Nagamani, became pleased and went back gladly to his house. The Raja Parikshit was lying on his bedstead when Takshaka bit him. The king died soon and went to the next world. The Raja Janamejaya, his son, then performed the funeral obsequies of his father and commenced afterward the Sarpa Yajna for revenge against snakes. In that sacrifice, innumerable snakes gave up their lives in the fire of the Brahmins. At this, Takshaka became terrified and took refuge of Indra. The Brahmins then, in a group together, became ready to burn Takshaka along with Indra, when Indra and the other devas went to Manasa. Mahendra, bewildered with fear, began to chant hymns to Manasa. Manasa called her own son Astika, who then went to this sacrificial assembly of the Raja Janamejaya and begged as the gift due to him as a visiting Brahmin that the lives of Indra and Takshaka be spared. The Raja then, at the command of the Brahmanas, granted their lives. And not only their lives, but ceased the entire Sarpa Yajna and spared all the remaining snakes. The Raja then brought his yajna to a completion and gladly gave the dakshinas to the Brahmins. The Brahmanas, Munis, and Devas collected their respected gifts and went to Manasa and worshipped her separately. In other words, each of them worshipped her and chanted hymns to her. Indra went there with the various articles, and he worshipped Manasa with devotion and with great love and care, and he chanted hymns to her. Then bowing down before her, and under the instructions of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesha, Indra offered her 16 articles, the full formal Shodashopachara Puja, sacrifices, and various other good and pleasant things. O Narada, thus worshipping her, they all then went to their respective places. Thus I have told you the anecdote of Manasa. What more do you want to hear? Say. Narada said, O Lord, how did Indra praise her, and what was his method of worshiping her? I want to hear all this. So we've already heard two different methods of worshiping Manasa, but here's a third, the way that Indra worshipped her. Narayana said, Indra first took his bath, and performing Achamana and becoming pure, he put on a fresh and clean clothing and placed Manasa Devi on a jeweled throne. Then, reciting the Vedic mantras, he made her perform her bath by the water of the Mandakini, the celestial river Mandakini, poured from a jeweled jar upon her. And then he gave to her to put on beautiful clothing that was not flammable by fire. Then he caused sandal paste to be applied to her body all over with devotion, and offered her water for washing her feet, and arghya, an offering of grass and flowers and rice, etc., as a token of preliminary worship. Then he worshipped the 6 devatas, Ganesha, Surya, Agni, Vishnu, Shiva, and Shiva, or Parvati. Then, with the 10-lettered mantra, the same one we've heard before, Om Hrim Srim Manasa Devyai Swaha, he offered all the offerings to her. Stimulated by the god Vishnu, in other words, Vishnu was there telling Indra what to do, Indra worshipped with great joy the Devi with 16 articles, so very rare to any other person. Drums and instruments were sounded. From the celestial heavens, a shower of flowers was thrown on the head of Manasa. Then, at the advice of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesha, the Devas and the Brahmanas, Indra, with tears in his eyes, began to chant hymns to Manasa, as his whole body was thrilled with joy such that his hair stood on end. Indra said, O Devi Manase, thou standest the highest among the chaste women, therefore I want to chant hymns to thee. Thou art higher than the highest, thou art most supreme. How can I now praise thee? Chanting hymns is characterized by the description of one's nature, so it is said in the Vedas. But, O Prakriti, I am unable to ascertain and describe thy qualities. Thou art of the nature of Shuddha Sattva. Thou art, or pure Sattva, free from anger and malice. Tamuni Jaratkaru could not forsake thee, therefore it was that he prayed for thy separation before. O chaste one, I have now worshipped thee. Thou art an object of worship, as my own mother Aditi is. Thou art my sister, full of mercy. Thou art the mother full of forgiveness. So it's not just a figure of speech for him to call her his sister. They actually are cousins, both descended from Kashyapa. O Sureshvari, it is through thee that my wife, sons, and my own life are saved. I am worshipping thee. Let thy love be increased. O Jagadamba, world mother, thou art eternal. Though thy worship is extant everywhere in the universe, yet I worship thee to have it extended further and further. O Mother, those who worship thee with devotion on the Sankranti day of the month of Ashuddha, or on the Naga Panchami day, the holy day of the Nagas, or on the Sankranti day of every month, or worship thee every day, get their sons and grandsons' wealth and grains increased and become themselves famous, well gratified, learned, and renowned. If anybody do not worship thee out of ignorance, but rather if they censure thee, they speak negatively toward thee, they will be bereft of Lakshmi, and will also be always afraid of snakes, which will be hostile to such a person. Thou art the Graha Lakshmi of all the householders, and the Raja Lakshmi of Vaikuntha. Bhagavan Jaratkaru, the great Muni, born in part of Narayana, is thy husband. Father Kashyapa has created thee mentally by his power of tapas and fire to preserve us. Thou art his mental creation, hence thy name is Manasa. Thou thyself hast become, so he says Father Kashyapa because Kashyapa is Indra's father as well, by Aditi. So in a way, they're half siblings. It's a bit complicated by the fact that Manasa has no mother, whereas Indra does, but they have the same father. Thou thyself, Indra says to her, hast become a Siddha Yogini in this world by thy mental power. Hence thou art widely known as Manasa Devi in this world and worshipped by all. The Devas always worship thee mentally with devotion. Hence the Pandits call thee by the name of Manasa. O Devi, thou always servest truth, hence thou art of the nature of truth. He certainly attains thee who always thinks of thee verily as of the nature of truth. O Narada, thus praising his sister Manasa and receiving from her the desired boon, Indra went back, dressed in his own proper dress, to his own abode. The Devi Manasa then, honored and worshipped everywhere, and thus worshipped by her brother Indra, long lived in her father's house with her son. One day, Surabhi, the heavenly cow, came from the Goloka and bathed Manasa with her milk, and worshipped her with great devotion, and revealed to her all the Tattvajnanas to be kept very secret. O Narada, thus worshipped by the Devas and Surabhi, the Devi Manasa went back to the heavenly regions. Or went to the heavenly regions. O Muni, one gets no fear from snakes, who recites this holy stotra composed by Indra and worships Manasa. His family descendants are freed. His family descendants too are freed from fear of snakes. If anybody becomes a siddha in this stotra, poison becomes nectar to him. Reciting this stotra 5 lakhs of times gives the siddhi in this stotra. Such a person, such a siddha, can sleep on a bed of snakes and can ride on snakes. Here ends the 48th chapter of the 9th book on the anecdote of Manasa and the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Vedavyasa. Chapter 49, Narada said, O Bhagavan, who was that Surabhi who came down from the region of Goloka, the cow goddess? I want to hear her life. Kindly describe. Narayana spoke, O Devarshi, the Devi Surabhi sprang in the Goloka. She was the first created of cows, and from her all other cows have come. She is the presiding deity of the cows. I will now speak her history from the very beginning, here. Before she appeared in the holy Vrindavana. One day, the beloved of Radha, surrounded by the gopis, was going gladly together with Radha to the holy Vrindavana forest. There he began to enjoy in a solitary place with great pleasure. He is all will, and suddenly a desire arose in his mind that he would drink milk. Then he easily created the Devi Surabhi full of milk, together with her calf, from his own left side. The calf of Surabhi is nothing else but her wish personified. Seeing Surabhi, Sri Dama milked her in a new earthen jar. The milk is more sweet than even nectar, and it prevents birth and death. The Lord of the Gopis drank the milk. What milk spilled from the jar created a big uh, an ocean. The amount that spilled from the jar was a whole ocean of milk, measuring 100 yojanas or 800 miles in length and breadth. And this ocean is known in Goloka by the name of Kshira Sagara, the ocean of milk. The Gopikas and Radha play therein, swimming in the milk ocean. At the will of Sri Krishna, whose nature is all will, that ocean became full of excellent gems and jewels. Then, from every pore of Surabhi's body there appeared 1 lakh koti kamadhenus, or wish-yielding cows. So much so that every Gopa who used to live there in Goloka had a kamadhenu, and every house in Goloka had a kamadhenu who lived there. Their calves again became so many that no number can be put to them. Thus, by degrees, the whole universe became filled with cows. This is the origin of cows. O Narada, Surabhi was first worshipped by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Therefore, she is so much honored everywhere. On the day next to the Diwali night, the new moon in the month of October, or sometimes it's early November, Surabhi was worshipped by the command of Sri Krishna. This is heard from the mouth of Dharmadeva. O child, now hear the Dhyanam, Stotra, and the method of worship of Surabhi as mentioned in the Vedas. I will now speak on this. Om Surabhyai Namaha is the principal six-lettered mantra of Surabhi. If anyone repeats this mantra 1 lakh times, he becomes a siddha in this mantra. This is like a kalpavriksha to the devotees. The dhyanam of Surabhi is mentioned in the Yajur Vedas. Success, prosperity, increase, and freedom come as the result of worshipping Surabhi. The dhyanam runs as follows. O Devi Surabhi, thou art Lakshmi, thou art best, thou art Radha, thou art the chief companion of Sri Radha, thou art the first and the source of the cow creation. Thou art holy and thou sanctifiest persons. Thou fulfillest the desires of the devotees and thou purifiest the whole universe. Therefore, I meditate on thee. Reciting this dhyanam, the Brahmanas worship the Devi Surabhi in jars, on the heads of cows, or on the pegs to which cows are fastened, or on the Shalagrama Shila, or in water, or in fire. O Muni, he who worships with devotion, on the next morning after Diwali night, becomes worshipped in this world. Once, one day in the Varaha Kalpa, Surabhi did not yield milk by the influence of Vishnu Maya. The Devas became very anxious. Then they went to the Brahmaloka and began to praise Brahma. At his advice, Indra began to chant his stotra to Surabhi. The Devendra chanted, O world mother, O Devi, Mahadevi, O Surabhi, thou art the source of the cow creation, obeisance to thee. Thou art the dear companion of Radha, thou art the part of Kamala, thou art dear to Sri Krishna, thou art the mother of cows. I bow down to thee. Thou art like the Kalpavriksha, the chief of all. Thou yieldest milk, wealth, and prosperity and increase. So I bow down to thee. Thou art auspicious, good. Thou bestowest cows, obeisance to thee. Thou givest fame, name, and dharma, so I bow down to thee. O Narada, thus hearing the praise sung by Indra, the eternal Surabhi, originator of the world, became very glad and appeared in the Brahmaloka. Granting a boon to Mahendra, so very rare to others and desired by him, Surabhi went to the Goloka. The Devas also went back to their own abodes. The whole world was then full of milk. Ghee came out of the milk, and from ghee, yajnas began to be performed, and the Devas were fed, and they became pleased. O child, he who recites this holy stotra of Surabhi with devotion gets cows and other wealth, name, fame, and sons. Reciting of this stotra qualifies one as if he had bathed in all the sacred places of pilgrimages and acquired the fruits of all the yajnas. enjoying happiness in this world. Such a one goes, in the end, to the temple of Sri Krishna. There, living long in the service of Krishna, he becomes able to be a son of Brahma. And here ends the 49th chapter of the 9th book on the anecdote of Surabhi. In the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. Chapter 50. And I think we'll do this because this concludes Book 9. Narada said, O Bhagavan, I have heard all the anecdotes of Prakriti, as according to the Shastras, that lead to the freedom from birth and death in this world. Now I want to hear the very secret history of Sri Radha and Durga, as described in the Vedas. Though you have told me about their glories, yet I am not satisfied. Verily, where is he whose heart does not melt away on hearing the glories of both of them, Radha and Durga? This world is originated from their parts and is being controlled by them. Devotion towards them frees one easily from the bonds of samsara. O Muni, kindly describe now about them. Narayana said, O Narada, I am now describing the characters of Radha and Durga as described in the Vedas. Listen. I did not describe to anybody this secret, which is the essence of all essences and higher than the highest. This is to be kept very secret. Hearing this, one ought not to divulge it to anyone else. Radha presides over the prana, and Durga the breath, and Durga presides over the buddhi, the mind. From these two, the Mula Prakriti has originated this world. These two Shaktis guide the whole world. From the Mahavira to the small insect, all, moving or non-moving, are under the Mula Prakriti. One must satisfy them. Unless these two be satisfied, mukti cannot be obtained. Therefore, one ought to serve Mula Prakriti for her satisfaction. Now, of the two in Mula Prakriti, I will describe fully the Radha mantra. Listen. Brahma, Vishnu, and others always practice this mantra. The principal mantra is Sri Radhaye Swaha. By this six-lettered mantra, dharma and other fruits are all obtained with ease. If to this six-lettered Mula mantra Hreem be added, it yields gems and jewels as desired, so much so, if 1,000 koti mouths and 100 koti tongues are obtained, the glory of this mantra still cannot be described. When the incorporeal voice of Mula Prakriti was heard in the heavens, this mantra was obtained first by Krishna in the Rasa Mandalam in the region of Goloka, where all love sentiments are played. From Krishna, Vishnu got the mantra. From Vishnu, Brahma got it. Brahma taught it to Virat, Virat to Dharma, and from Dharma I have got this mantra. Repeating that mantra, I am known by the name of Rishi. Brahma and the other devas meditate always on the Mula Prakriti with greatest joy and ecstasy. Without the worship of Radha, never can the worship of Sri Krishna be done. So those devoted to Vishnu should first of all worship Radha by all means. Radha is the presiding deity of the Purana of Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna is so much subject to Radha. The lady of the Rasa Mandalam remains always close to him. Without her, Sri Krishna could not live even for a moment. The name Radha is derived from Radnoti, or fulfiller of all desires. Hence, Mula Prakriti is termed Radha. I am the Rishi of all the mantras, but the Durga mantra mentioned in this 9th skandha, of all the mantras, but the Durga mantra mentioned in this 9th skandha. Gayatri is the chanda, or the of those mantras, and Radhika is the devata of them. Really, Narayana is the Rishi of all the mantras. Gayatri is the chanda, Pranava is the bija, and Bhuvaneshwari is the Shakti. First of all, the principal mantra is to be repeated 6 times. Then meditation of the great Devi Radhika, the Shakti of the Rasa, is to be done as mentioned in the Samaveda. This meditation of Radha is as follows. O Devi Radhike, thy color is like the white champaka flower, thy face is like the autumnal full moon, thy body shines with the splendor of 10 million moons, thy eyes look beautiful like an autumnal lotus, thy lips are red like bimba fruits, thy loins are very heavy and decked with the kanchi ornament, a girdle. Thy face is always gracious with sweet smiles, thy breasts defy the frontal globe of an elephant. Thou art ever youthful, as if 12 years old. I think 12 is somewhat of an underestimate generally, but the idea being um, full of youth. Thy body is adorned all over with ornaments. Thou art the waves of the ocean of Sringara, of the emotions of romantic love. Thou art ever ready to show thy grace to the devotees. On thy braid of hair garlands of Mallika and Malati are shining. Thy body is like a creeping plant, very gentle and tender. Thou art seated in the middle of Rasa Mandalam as the chief directrix of the dance. Thy one hand is ready to grant boons, and another hand expresses have no fear. These are the Varada and Abhaya mudras. Thou art of a peaceful appearance, ever youthful, seated on a jeweled throne. Thou art the foremost guide of the Gopikas. Thou art dearer to Krishna than even his life. O Parameshwari, the Vedas reveal thy nature. Meditating thus, one is to bathe the Devi on a Shalagrama Shila, a jar, a yantra, or the 8-petaled lotus, and then worship her duly. First, the Devi is to be invoked, then Padya and Asana, etc., are to be offered, the principal mantra being pronounced at every time an offering is given. After giving water for washing both the feet, Arghya is to be placed on the head and Achamaniyam water to be offered 3 times on the face. The Madhuparka oblation of honey and milk, and a cow giving a good quantity of milk are next to be offered. Then the yantra is to be thought of as the bathing place wherein the Devi is to be bathed. Then her body is to be wiped and a fresh cloth given for her to put on. Sandal paste and various other ornaments are next to be given. Various garlands of flowers with tulsi manjari, parijata flower, and satapatra are to be offered. Then within the 8 petals of the lotus, the family members of the Devi are to be thought of. Worship is next to be offered in the right-hand direction. First of all, Malavati on the petal to the east of the Devi, then Madhavi on the southeast petal, Ratnamala on the south, Sushila on the southwest, Shashikala on the west, Parijata on the northwest, Paravati on the north, and the benefactress Sundari on the northeast corner are to be worshipped in this order. Outside this, as we draw the Radha Yantra, outside these 8 petals, Brahmi and the other matrikas are to be worshipped. And on the bhupuras, the 4 entrances of the yantra, the regents of the quarters, the dikpalas, and the weapons of the Devi, starting with the lightning bolt, are to be worshipped. Then all the attendant deities of the Devi are to be worshipped with scents and various other articles. Thus, finishing the worship, one should chant the Sahasranama Stotra with care and devotion. O Narada, the intelligent one who worships thus the Raseshwari Devi Radha becomes like Vishnu and goes to the Goloka. He who performs the birthday anniversary of Sri Radha, the Radhashtami festival on the full moon day of the month of Kartika, gets the blessings of Sri Radha who remains near to him. For some reason, Radha, the dweller in Goloka, was born in Vrindavana as the daughter of Vrishavanu. However, according to the number of letters of the mantras that are mentioned here, Purascharana is to be made and Homa, 1/10 of Purascharana, is then to be performed. The Homa is to be done with ghee, honey, and milk, these 3 sweet things mixed with sesame and with devotion. Narada said, O Bhagavan, now describe the stotra mantra by which the Devi Radha is pleased. My father particularly highlighted this whole stotra as of a special importance to him. Narayana said, O Narada, now I am saying the Radha Stotra. Listen. O thou, the highest deity, dweller in the Rasa Mandalam, I bow down to thee. O thou, the chief directrix of the Rasa Mandalam, O thou dearer to Krishna than even his life, I bow down to thee. O thou, the mother of the 3 lokas, O thou, the ocean of mercy, be pleased. Brahma, Vishnu, and the other devas bow down before thy lotus feet. Thou art Saraswati, thou art Savitri, thou art Shankari. I bow down to thee. Thou art Ganga, thou art Padmavati, thou art Shashti, thou art Mangala Chandika, thou art Manasa, thou art Tulasi, thou art Durga, thou art Bhagavati, thou art Lakshmi, thou art all. I bow down to thee. Thou art the Mula Prakriti. Thou art the ocean of mercy. Obeisance to thee. Be merciful to us and save us from this ocean of samsara. O Narada, anybody who remembers Radha and reads this stotra 3 times a day does not feel the want of anything in this world. He will ultimately go to Goloka and remain in the Rasa Mandalam. O child, this great secret ought never to be given out to any. Now I am telling you the method of worship of the Durga Devi here. When anyone remembers Durga in this world, all his difficulties and troubles are removed. It is not seen that anybody does not remember Durga. She is the object of worship of all. She is the mother of all and the wonderful Shakti of Mahadeva. She is the presiding deity of the Buddhi, the intellect of all, and she controls the hearts of all and removes the great difficulties and dangers of all. Therefore, she is named Durga in this world. She is worshipped by all, whether Shaivas or Vaishnavas. She is the Mula Prakriti, and from her the creation, preservation, and destruction of the universe proceed. O Narada, now I am saying the principal 9-lettered Durga mantra, the best of all the mantras. Aim Hreem Kleem Chamundaye Viche is the 9-lettered Bija mantra of Sri Durga. It's like a kalpa vriksha yielding all desires. One should worship this mantra by all means. Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesha are the rishis of this mantra. Gayatri, Ushnik, and Anushtubha are the chandas. Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, and Saraswati are the devatas. Raktadantika, Durga, and Brahmari are the bijas. Nanda, Shakambhari, and Bhima are the Shaktis, and Dharma, Artha, and Kama are the Viniyoga. Assign the head to the rishi of the mantra in Nyasa, assign the chandas to the mouth, and assign the devata to the heart. Then assign the Shakti to the right side of the chest for success, and assign the bija to the left side of the chest. Then perform the Shadanga Nyasa as follows. Aim Hridayaya Namaha is invoked into the heart. Hrim Shirase Swaha to the head. Klim Shikayam Vashata to the hair in the rear of the head. Chamundaye Kavachayahum is the armor or protection around the body. Viche Netrabhyam Voshatu goes to the eyes. Aim Hrim Klim Chamundaye Viche Karatala Prishihabhyam Pat. Next, say, touching the corresponding parts of the body, Aim Namah Shikayam Hrim Namaha on the right eye, Klim Namaha on the left eye, Cham Namaha on the right ear, Mum Namaha on the left ear, Udam Namaha on the nostrils, Vim Namaha on the face, Kshem Namaha on the anus, and finally, Aim Hrim Klim Chamundaye Viche on the whole body. Then do the dhyanam thus. O Chamunde, thou art holding in thy 10 hands 10 weapons. Khadga, axe, Chakra, the disc, Gada, the mace, Vana, arrows, Chapa, the bow, Parigha, Shula, the spear, Bhushundi, Kapala, and Khadga. The Khadga being the sword. Thou art Mahakali, 3-eyed. Thou art decked with various ornaments. Thou shinest like Leelanjan, a black pigment. Thou hast 10 faces and 10 feet. The lotus-born Brahma chanted hymns to thee for the destruction of Madhukaitaba. I bow down to thee. Then one should meditate on Mahakali of the nature of Kama Bija, the source of the will. Then the dhyanam of Mahalakshmi follows. O Mahalakshmi, the destroyer of Mahishasura, thou holdest the Akshamala, Parashu, Gada, Ishu, Kulisha, Padma, Dhanu, Kundika, Kamandalu, Danda, Shakti, Asi, Charma, Padma, Ghanta, Shurapatra, Shula, Pasha, and Sudarshana. These are the The mala, the japamala, the axe, the mace, arrows, lightning bolt, lotus, bow, pot of water, the rod, spear, sword, shield, lotus, bell, a pot full of wine, axe, noose, and chakra. Thy color is of the rising sun. Thou art seated on the red lotus. Thou art of the nature of Maya Bija, so obeisance to thee. Then comes the dhyanam of Mahasarasvati as follows. O Mahasarasvati, thou holdest bell, axe, the hala or the plow, conch shell, mushala club, sudarshana bow and arrows. Thy color is like the kunda flower. Thou art the destroyer of Shumbha and the other daityas. Thou art of the nature of Vani Vija. Thy body is filled with everlasting existence, intelligence, and bliss. Obeisance to thee. O Narada, now I'm going to speak on the yantra of Mahasarasvati. Listen. First, draw a triangle. Draw inside the triangle an 8-petaled lotus having 24 leaves. Within this, draw the house. Then on the yantra thus drawn, or in the shalagrama stone, or in the jar, or in a murti, or in the vanalingam, or on the sun, one should worship the Devi with oneness of heart. Then worship the Pita, the deity seated also on the dais, Jaya, Vijaya, Ajita, Aghora, Mangala, and other Pita Shaktis. Then worship the attendant deities in the Avarana Puja, Brahma with Saraswati on the east, Narayana with Lakshmi on the Nairarit corner, that means the southwest, Shankara with Parvati on the Vayu corner, meaning the west, the lion on the north of the Devi, and Mahasura on the left side of the Devi. Finally, worship Mahisha, worship a buffalo. Next, worship Nandaja, Raktadanta, Shakambhari, Shiva, Durga, Bhima, and Brahmari. Then on the 8 petals, worship Brahmi, Maheshwari, Kaumari, Vaishnavi, Varahi, Narasinghi, Aindri, and Chamunda. Next, these are the Ashtamatrika Shaktis. Next, commencing from the leaf in front of the Devi, worship on the 24 leaves, Vishnu Maya, Chetana, Buddhi, Nidra, who is the Nidra is sleep, hunger, shadow, Shakti, thirst, peace, Jati or birth, Lajja or modesty, Sradha or faith, fame, Lakshmi in the sense of wealth, fortitude, Vritti, Sruti, Smriti, which is memory, mercy, Tushti, Pushti, Bhranti, and other matrikas. Next on the details here are deliberately not given in full. This is like a reference for a guru to follow and fill out the details. Next on the corners of the Bhupura, the 4 gates of the yantra, Ganesha, the Kshetrapalas, Vatuka, and Yoginis are to be worshipped. Then on the outside of that, Indra and the other devas furnished with weapons are to be worshipped as per the aforesaid rules. For the satisfaction of the world mother, various nice offerings and articles like those given by royal personages are to be presented to the mother. Then the mantra is to be repeated, understanding its exoteric and esoteric meanings. Then Saptashati Stitra, or the Chandipata, is to be repeated before the Devi. In other words, the entire 700 verses of the Durga Saptashati. There is no other stotra like this in the 3 worlds. Thus, Durga, the deity of the Devas, is to be appeased every day. If you did that, it would take like many hours every day to do that course of worship. There is he who does this gets within his easy reach dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, the 4 main objects of human pursuits. O Narada, thus I have described to you the method of worship of the Devi Durga. People get by this what they want. Hari, Brahma, and all the devas, manus, munis, the yogis full of knowledge, the ashramis, and Lakshmi and the other devas all meditate on Shivani. One's birth is attained with success at the remembrance of Durga. The 14 manus have got their manuship, and the devas have their own rights by meditating on the lotus feet of Durga. O Narada, thus I have described to you the very hidden histories of the 5 prakritis and their anshas. Then verily the four objects of human pursuits, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, are obtained by hearing this. He who has no sons gets sons, who has no learning gets learning, and whoever wants anything gets that if he hears this. The Devi Jagadhatri becomes certainly pleased with him who reads with his mind concentrated on this for the 9 nights of Navaratri before the Devi. The Devi becomes obedient to him who daily repeats one chapter of this 9th skandha, and the reader also does what is acceptable to the Devi. To ascertain beforehand what effects, merits, or demerits would accrue from reading this Bhagavata, it is necessary by examining through the hands of a virgin girl or a Brahmin child, so virgin girl of any varna, or a Brahmin child, whether or not they are a virgin or a girl, the auspicious or inauspicious signs. First make a sankalpa and worship the book, then bow down again and again to the Devi Durga, then bring there a virgin girl or any Brahmin child, bathed well and worship her duly, and have a golden pencil fixed duly in her hand and placed in the middle of the body. Then calculate the auspicious or inauspicious effects, as the case may be, from the curves made by that pencil. So the effects of reading this Bhagavata would be. If the virgin girl be indifferent in fixing the pencil within the area drawn, know the result of reading the Bhagavata would be similar or indifferent. There is no doubt in this. Here ends the 50th chapter of the 9th book on the glory of Shakti and the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. And here ends the 9th book. And we can end there for today. We'll start the 10th book next time.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Devala. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, thank you for coming.
Do you still have a minute for some questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks for the extra. Nice to epic to finish the book.
Yeah.
Thanks for the extra time today.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Surabi chapter that might have been one of my most favorite chapters we've read yet.
Yeah.
In our 2.5 years of reading or whatever it's been.
Oh wow, yeah. On Surabi?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just I hang out with cows regularly, and
nice.
One named Lakshmi particularly is very social.
Nice.
Have a tight relationship with.
Nice.
We go give her some apple slices right after this.
Oh, nice. That's a very auspicious thing to do after this reading. We go feed a cow. Yeah. I love Surabhi. Yeah, Surabhi is one of the I actually have a murti of Surabhi that I do in my regular puja. Yeah, I really like Surabhi.
Yeah, it's definitely it's like cow worship is something that I've done kind of intuitively without much instruction.
Right.
And so it's cool. Like it's so, it's all, well, that's what the Vedas, one of the amazing things about the Vedas is it points out details of stuff we've maybe felt intuitively or seen in our third eye, but then the Vedas puts it down in words. So
yeah. That
was today. That was so beautiful. I was curious, what is what is the tattva jhanas? It said on page 1000, it said to be supposed to be secret. And then it said, made the current story where any lingam suddenly becomes visible, something like that. And
page
it was
1000.
Right before the chapter started. Right before the chapter on Surabi started, it was talking about her helping Manasa.
Okay, yes.
And the tattva jhanas?
Yes. Let me see here.
Yeah, that sounds like a whole book in itself.
So one day Surabhi, the heavenly cow, came from Goloka, bathed Manasa with milk, worshipped her with great devotion, and revealed to her all the tattva jnanas to be kept very secret. So we're not given the details of what Surabhi taught to Manasa, but the tattva jnanas would refer to literally just knowledge of the categories. So it's basically a way of saying taught her everything,
Oh,
all knowledge of all things, essentially.
and then in the parentheses it says, "This is now made the current story wherever any lingam suddenly becomes visible."
So that was a I skipped over that because that was like a little comment by the translator and not an actual part of the text being
Oh,
translated. That's why it's in parentheses.
yeah.
What that's referring to is the bathing of milk by Surabi. That um, it is a common story. Um, I can give you an example of it. So I went to um, in Kathmandu in Nepal, capital city of Nepal. There's a very, very famous temple, well, one of the most famous Shiva temples, Pashupatinath temple. The way that uh, the lingam of Pashupatinath was not made by human hands. It was discovered. And the way that it was discovered was that a divine cow, who was in fact Surabhi, was going to a certain spot in the forest and pouring her milk out on the ground. And that some forest people there, this was before the building of the city of Kathmandu, thousands of years ago, went to the spot where they saw this divine cow pouring her milk on the ground and found that there was a lingam, a stone in the earth that she was pouring her milk on as a milk bath and an abhishek. And that this was the what led people to discover the lingam, and they ended up worshiping it, building an entire temple around it, and it's now the most revered temple in the entire country of Nepal. So
Mm.
it's referring that that comment was a little bit unclear there, unless you are familiar with stories like this, but it's referring to stories of Surabhi going and bathing lingas with her milk.
Oh, wow. And then like kind of adding to it with the, or oh no, it's just like how we would use milk, but then
Yeah.
it's a
So it's
pour over
like
lingam.
it's he
But
mentions
they're
this because like Surabhi came and bathed Manasa with her milk, and it's just the translator is mentioning like Surabhi often does to Shiva lingas. She did to Manasa,
oh,
came down from heaven and bathed her with her milk. It's kind of the way that
cool.
Surabhi gives worship to Shiva lingas or on this occasion to Manasa.
Okay. It makes me think I should go put a Shiva lingam in the cow pasture just for just for the possibility of cows communing with it anyway. Sounds auspicious.
Yeah, it's super
Okay.
auspicious to have a Shiva linga in a cow pasture. There's all over
That
India
makes sense.
there are Shiva lingas in cow pastures.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
usually just like
Nice.
a little one enshrined somewhere, but yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, man. Oh,
Yeah,
could I
thank
ask one
you.
more question?
Sure, go for it.
Uh, Takshika and Donvantari haven't they really like, the text
Yeah, they're
scooted
friends.
scooted through that detail. Of course, they scooted through the whole Parikshit story.
Yeah, I mean
Firstly, was
we've
that
had the
this?
Parikshit story before, even in this
Yeah.
very Purana.
Oh,
So, but yeah,
right.
but
And now on that note, which yuga or what? Wait, what are the time periods where the same story repeats? Was that the was
Kalpa.
that the was that the Srimad Bhagavatam uh Parikshit?
It was not. It
That's
was
what,
not.
okay.
Not the same one.
Yeah. That's so fascinating. And then what was going on with Takshika, the snake, right? And
Yeah.
Don Vantari, the god of Ayurveda, right?
Yes.
The guy,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
They're just walking along these epic characters in the forest, and they see each other and have a deep conversation
Yeah.
on
And
Takshika's way
became
to kill Parikshit.
yes, and became great friends. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And okay. Then they didn't really go in. That was a very, swept through thing.
Yeah.
But
It
is there
didn't
more
go into
detail
much
on that
detail on that.
somewhere? Or yeah.
Yeah. In Ayurveda, it gets more into that, the friendship between Dhanvantari and Takshaka, and in the worship traditions of Takshaka. Uh, so in the temples of Takshaka, Dhanvantari is worshipped. In the worship traditions of Dhanvantari, Takshaka is worshipped. They're considered great friends. Um, and Takshaka contributed knowledge to Ayurveda about poisons, antivenoms, um, and the medicinal usages of poisons, secrets of Naga medicine that he taught to Dhanvantari. There's a whole tradition there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There, so like it's just funny, first thing that comes to mind is uh Don Vondry heard the whole story of Takshika's plan to kill Parikshit, but
Hmm.
and he still becomes great friends with this guy.
Yeah. It was just like,
What
okay, go
so
ahead, go kill him. They like it
really, yeah,
was,
yeah.
yeah,
What was what's up with that? It's also I think we've gone through this where that Parikshit in that time period maybe wasn't as noble as the one in the Srimad
Srimad
Bhagavatam,
Bhagavatam in
something like
the,
that.
yes,
He was more of a doofus, like he kind of like made
well,
some
he certainly,
mistakes and
yeah, he certainly was not the great Krishna Bhakta of the more famous and revered Parikshit.
oh god, interesting.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, no, Dhanvantari wasn't concerned that Takshika was on his way to kill
yeah.
Parikshit.
Yeah.
He understood that it was that's what was
Dharma.
supposed to happen, and yeah, that was just like, okay, cool, but like, do you want to like on your way there, do you want to sit for a while and talk? And they made friends, and yeah, weren't remotely concerned
Wow.
with what Takshika was on his what was going to go do at the end of his journey.
Ah,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Cool, Dale. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for coming.
Hey, last question, and I know you get
Yeah,
like people to watch YouTube, right?
yeah.
And what are there ways we can just like send you a little like PayPal or a Venmo or something like that and donate to
Mm.
these classes just as a tip jar?
Yeah. There's probably something like that. I can text you something probably. But
Okay.
yeah.
That'd be cool. And then, yeah, I don't know. I think people on the YouTubes too, because some of these things you get like 1,000 views on or whatever. Like, I bet some folks who just tip in like $5, $10, $100 here and there, because it's definitely amazing information, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah,
something to think
it's
about.
like, it's like, or it's like donating to the church, going to the offering plate, or this is church for me, Sunday
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like, yeah, a little offering plate thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, think
Thanks so
about that.
much, man.
Thank you.
Jay Ma.
Jai Ma.